If you're writing books using AI and feel conflicted about sharing the fact that you've used AI, you're definitely not alone. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about transparency and how it helps me and why I think transparency is important in general. I've been using AI quite regularly in every single one of my creative projects, especially in my writing projects. And, this video is not to call people out for not being transparent, but it's more of a video to show what's possible with transparency and why I think it's a good thing in general. I've always opted toward full disclosure and transparency, and that's just my own personal belief and philosophy. And I know that everyone has their own take on it. So it's a controversial subject, especially given the ethical considerations the ethical issues that are popping up, as well as considerations around responsibility. So all of that will be mixed into this video. I'd like to start by saying, there's this myth of the self-made artist, and in my belief, it is a myth. I don't think our art, our art does not come from us alone. Our art doesn't come from us alone. We have collaborators, teachers, influences, and this is how I see AI, as just a new kind of collaborator and a new technical tool that everyone has available at their fingertips. I just wanted to show you my book. This is an author's copy of my book. And as you can see, there's a graphic stripe along the middle that says "not for resale." And I'm essentially using this to do a couple more edits on. I'm reading through this a couple more times, looking at the formatting and how the cover and back cover look. So it's always helpful to print out an author's copy, and during the editing process, that is. So my book is called Where the Quiet Things Speak, A Journey with the Cockroach Whisperer, and that's me, Se-Jin Kim. It'll be out hopefully in about 2 or 3 months. Let's see. I wanted to show you this because, firstly, in the introduction, I go into great detail about how I have incorporated AI into the writing or the co-writing of this book and the idea generation. The initial concept and idea came strictly from me, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just wanted to give you the kind of the general premise or the synopsis of what's going on in this book, because it's important in our discussion of AI. Namely that, the premise is this human character, who's based on myself, has 8 different conversations with 8 different creatures, insects and animals. And it ranges from spiders. Of course, we have a cockroach. We have an ant. They're called leafcutter ants. Bottlenose dolphin, hummingbird, an octopus. So what goes on are these improvised, spontaneous conversations where a lot of interesting and organic things come up. And there's a lot of creativity that emerges on both sides. So this is my book, and we'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the video in relationship to our topic of disclosure and the importance of full transparency. Now, my process of creation for the book, I just wanted to briefly discuss this. it started again with my concept, the original idea of a human speaking to different insects about all different kinds of subjects, from improvisation, creativity, let's see, raising offspring, the environment. What else? I'm trying to think. Mortality. And all of this within the context of real-time dialogue. And that context was really important, as well as the process of allowing the AI, and I forgot to mention this before, but the insects and the animals are roles that the AI is within and embodying. They're like personas. And so I set things up in such a way to maximize what I feel like I'm maximizing and pushing the boundaries of what AI is able to do in terms of its kind of creative expression. And this is not, in terms of the AI persona generation, it's not anything new. You see it more and more these days. Maybe you are into philosophy, for example, and they have a lot of different YouTube channels where the voice or the persona of someone like, I don't know, Marcus Aurelius or Confucius is kind of embodied within an AI voice, or the AI is embodying this famous historical figure or philosopher. And the way that this is done is, I can't speak specifically to some of these channels, but I understand it to be a process of uploading a lot of their writing, as well as other people's writing on these famous individuals, and then kind of amalgamating them, having the AI absorb all of that information and then kind of express it in, sometimes hour-long or even more than an hour-long monologue, where the AI in the role of this philosopher is speaking to kind of topics relevant to today, media addiction, the importance of interpersonal communication, things like this. So kind of like motivational videos, right, within the expressive role-playing that AI can immerse itself in. So that is kind of getting back to the generation of this book, which further kind of expanded into reflection, upon getting the main bulk of each conversation completed, which was very spontaneous, again, a real-time conversation. There was also editing in terms of kind of cutting and pasting and having to extend certain conversations the next day so I could kind of focus on one aspect of what we were getting into, which was kind of what I felt was a more interesting part of the conversation. And again, to iterate on that. And so I looked at myself as maybe more like a film director than a writer, although I can maybe safely say about 40% of the writing in this book is my writing. 60 to 65% is the writing of the AI. But again, I was the editor-in-chief as well as kind of like a director who was moving the pieces around, shaping and steering the project with the AI alongside me, alongside each step, amplifying what I was doing. So again, taking on a new kind of role. I like to say it as AI assisted writing, or AI collaborative writing, something like that. Now, what is this book? After getting so deep into it, sometimes it's hard to pull yourself to pull myself back and sort of speak a little more generally as to what it is. And I think this is important in our discussion. Before I get into what I feel this book is about or what it is in more general terms, I forgot to mention that I use ChatGPT, and that's my main AI platform for all of my writing and image generation. Although recently I have been using, for other projects, I have been using Runway, and in the past I have used Claude for writing. But right now it is predominantly ChatGPT. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Now, in terms of what I believe this book to be, or what is this book, I think it's basically a creative partnership between human being and AI. It's also an exploration of what AI can do as a co-creator, as well as a technical tool. This book is about spontaneity. It's about spontaneous expression and improvisation, and the kind of creativity that can emerge from this context between person and machine. It's about creative boundaries of person and machine and pushing those boundaries. And the larger picture, which is one of the more interesting ones, I believe, is that it's a book that's made both with AI and that's about AI at the same time, in terms of AI's voice, its creativity, and its relationship to humans. So that is kind of just what I believe the book is, from kind of a little bit of a pulled back viewpoint. In terms of disclosure, I think this is probably the main point of the video. I believe that readers deserve to know who or what is involved in the co-writing. If it's in-depth, whether it might be in-depth co-writing or if it's just kind of basic copy editing, I think all of these components are important and the reader should know about, what was involved in these processes. The more that we as AI-assisted authors and artists, the more we disclose, I think this strengthens trust with the public. And this kind of work, this kind of collaborative work between human and AI becomes more normal and accepted. I think this is really important in moving the field forward, especially given the context, which is, kind of a more disparaging view of AI-assisted work. It's looked at as less human and as a result less creative, which leads to it being lower in value, right? So I think that, combined with this idea of the importance of moving the progression forward, we can look at just in general how there are different schools of thought. We have the traditionalists versus the progressives. And there's always an inevitable shift where today's progressives become tomorrow's traditionalists. And there's this progression that there's this kind of progression where it's constantly moving forward. And part of this whole idea of transparency, I feel, helps that natural movement, that natural progression forward to kind of flow smoothly, which is very good in general for society, for the arts, for the people who consume and the people who produce cultural artifacts. In conclusion, it's important that I mention that I'll continue to fully disclose and be transparent with how I incorporate AI into all of my creative projects. Everyone will have their own approach. This idea of full disclosure worked for me. It's my take on it. It's my opinion, so it's not a rule. I think regardless of what group you fall into, I think it's important to ask this question: what do we owe readers about how a book is made so they can interpret it fairly? And again, for me, it's about transparency, which builds trust and respect, and it allows us to move forward with this natural, fast-paced progression. And I think able then to kind of keep that progression moving and flowing, and allows us to do the same within a constantly changing ecosystem, and to move responsibly as within that rapid pace, right? In terms of my book here, if you're curious about how human and AI collaboration works, how I did it, I'd be really happy to disclose more in terms of the way that I set things up for the AI to embody these roles. This video, I hope, will give you something concrete to think about. Yes, just please comment and subscribe below and tell me if you are interested in learning more about how I put this book together. So I look forward to next time. This has been an important subject that I've been wanting to do for a little bit now, and I'm glad I can share it with you. So take care, and I look forward to our next video.